All right, guys, how we doing? I'm up in Tahoe this week with my family, and look at this vibe out here. I mean, come on, such a vibe. Beautiful weather, 75 degrees, South Lake Tahoe, right next to Edgewood. It's a beautiful day. So last week we wrapped up our series on the Beatitudes, and so we're in a little bit of a 3-week. Actually, it's more like 5 weeks. So I'll probably end up coming up with a series in the next couple of weeks. But just today, I'm just going to do something a little bit different, just kind of off the cuff. I thought about this when we got up here, and it's kind of been the thing that's been on my mind since coming up to Tahoe. And it's Romans chapter 1, starting at verse 20. It says this: "For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that the people are without excuse." I was reflecting when I got up here on how so often, like so much of our lives, I mean, you guys know this, it's like, how often do you just like forget the beauty that's around you, right? Like in the grind of working full-time, providing for your family, kids, sports and stuff, and you name it, right? Like you're constantly just distracted, like head down. And when I got up here, and just a slower pace, like I'm coming up on like I'm going on a 3-week little break from kind of being present at the church, a little vacation, which I'll be still sending videos and stuff like that. But just my thought was, as I start this, downtime, next couple of weeks of downtime, like I want to be more aware of God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature throughout his creation. And so I want to encourage you, just with like a couple of like reflection questions, just as I kind of pivot here. The reflection question is a few of them, and I'll kind of talk about them a little bit, and then I'll leave you guys to your groups. But like, when was the last time you stopped to let creation kind of lead you into worshiping God? Like, when was the last time you did that? I remember I made this commitment at the beginning of summer. Like right at the beginning of summer, we had this staff meeting, and it was kind of like, hey, summer is this time, you guys know Danville is like a shoulder season mountain town in the summer. It's like no one's there. And so it's like, what is something that you can do this summer as it's kind of slowing the pace down, that you can kind of like spend time and rest, basically, kind of slow your pace. And I committed to going on a hike. That was my goal. Like, I just wanted to go on some hikes. And since the baby, I just haven't been able to get out, And so I decided, I think I'm going to go on a hike. Fast forward 9 weeks later, haven't gone on a hike. And then I woke up just a week ago, I woke up and it was like 6 a.m. Baby got up early. Baby was up at like 5:30. So I'm up 6 a.m. Me and my wife are like laying in bed. I'm like, we should just go on a hike right now. It's like beautiful. It's been like Central Coast in Danville, like that overcast, kind of the Las Trampas Hills, kind of covering the clouds covering Las Trampas Hills. So we went up a hike kind of by Monte Vista. A hike actually Drew Icahn and his crew we went on a while back, but I went up this hike with my wife and the baby, and I just like stopped and like I just looked out over our valley, and it was like an opposing view to Las Trampas, right? So it's a little bit of a different view, and you can just see on Las Trampas like the oak tree spotted brown, like golden brown hills. And I was like, man, we live in such a beautiful place. And I was reminded of the story in the gospel where Jesus comes riding in on a donkey towards the end of his ministry, kind of his triumphal entry into Jerusalem. And the people are worshiping him. And then the Pharisees are like, why are the people worshiping you? And he's like, if they don't worship me, then the rocks will cry out and worship me. He's basically saying, like, creation will worship me. The trees will sing to me. That's Psalm, don't quote me on that, I think that's Psalm 110. It says the trees will worship God. the rocks are going to cry out. Like creation will lead us into worship if we don't worship him ourselves. So the question is, when was the last time you stopped? When was the last time you went out into creation? When was the last time you went on a hike? You went to the reservoir, you came up to Tahoe, whatever, and just like stopped for a second and didn't think about like the activity you were going to do, but just stopped for a second and looked out and just said like, wow, God created this for his enjoyment and for my enjoyment. Second thing is, what part of God's creation reminds you the most of his character? And maybe another way to put that is, how does creation remind you of God, right? How does creation remind you of God? And I look at creation, and I just think, man, it's an art piece. It's art. I mean, God is an artist, So think about that. Like, when you look out in creation, what does creation remind you of? Like, how does creation remind you of God? Like, in what way? What character trait of God does it remind you of? And the final thing is, when are you going to go out? Some of you do. I mean, that's what you do. That's what you do. You go out, you go on walks, you go on hikes, you go out, you come up to Tahoe, whatever. But for you guys who like haven't taken a break this summer, kind of been grinding, pushing, like, when are you going to go out? When are you going to take a break and go out and experience God's creation? Experience the glory of Jesus through the creation of the earth. All right, guys, I'm going to get back to my family. I'm going to the lake today. Tomorrow I'm playing golf. I'm resting. I'm eating good food. I'm hanging out with my baby. We're going to dip him in the lake, and I'm going to baptize my mother-in-law in Lake Tahoe today. So I'll see you guys later. I love you. Bye.